Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. It's Monday, January 4th at 6 p.m. And tonight we are having several special presentations, the first of which is a Sunshine Law presentation by Law Director Lisa Eliason. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Eliason, and I'm the Athens City Law Director. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you on your election to the 2016-17 term of the Athens City Council, and I look forward to working with each of you. Now, in addition to my presentation, and this is a presentation that I provided to your orientation that was held on December 19th, there are many resources for you to use on the Ohio Sunshine Law. The Ohio Municipal League publishes a handbook, and that is entitled Municipal Government in Ohio. The Ohio Municipal League holds training for new council members in February, and I would strongly recommend that the new council people attend that training. The Ohio Municipal League website is found at www.omlohio.org. And I'm sure that you were also provided with the rules of council of the City of Athens. The Attorney General's Office publishes a manual entitled The Ohio Sunshine Laws, an Open Government Resource Manual, and it's available online at www.ohio.gov/government/transparency. And you're also welcome to ask me any questions at any time. You can send me requests via email if you have any questions. Now, the training that I'm going to give you doesn't substitute for the mandatory training that you're required to have during your term. However, you're also permitted to have a designee take that training for you. And I believe in the past, either Chris Knisley or Debbie Walker has been the designee for Athens City Council. I believe it was Debbie Walker. But I'm going to strongly recommend that you also take the training. If you can't take the training, and I believe it may be offered locally or perhaps in Columbus, it's also available online, and that can be found at the Attorney General's website. I took that last week, and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. And for anyone out there who may want to take that, it's actually excellent. And it's set forth in small 6 to 8 minute segments, and then there's a quiz afterwards, after each segment. But it's very good, and I would recommend that you look at that. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Office of the Law Director, and I'm going to actually talk about that a little bit more. But as you know, the responsibilities of the Law Director are outlined in the Ohio Revised Code, and I'm going to talk about this also more later. The Ohio Revised Code allows for City Council to make this a part-time position, which it is. The Law Director, it's 30 hours per week. I have to be a licensed attorney in the state of Ohio, and I am responsible for overseeing the law department and 3 full-time prosecutors. Those prosecutors are Chief City Prosecutor Tracy Meek, James Stanley, and Matthew Ward. We also have 2 full-time secretaries, and our offenses that we prosecute range anywhere from minor misdemeanor, marijuana, possession of marijuana, and traffic cases, all the way up to vehicular manslaughter cases, and also things like assault, domestic violence, and driving under the influence. Our office prosecutes cases that are brought to us from many different jurisdictions. We prosecute for the City of Athens, and by contract, which I will explain later, because we do get money from the county to prosecute misdemeanor offenses in the unincorporated areas. But we prosecute for Athens City Police, Ohio University Police, the Department of Public Safety, which is called Liquor Control. We prosecute for the Athens County Sheriff, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, and for various agencies of the state, including the Department of Agriculture, Workers' Compensation. So we prosecute, also for the dog warden, we prosecute the dog cases. Municipal court handles about 12,000 cases a year, and our office handles about 3,000 of those 12,000 cases. The law director also provides legal advice to city officials, represents the city in legal proceedings, approves contracts and bonds involving the city. and I give legal opinions when requested, as I believe many of you know. I also keep council apprised progress of litigation in which the city is a party, and one of my requirements, which I'm going to fulfill tonight, is to present to council an annual report on the law director's office. The law director has authority to seek judicial intervention in cases where the law is not being properly applied by city officials. And the two most commonly used tools are mandamus relief and the filing of a taxpayer lawsuit. Now, mandamus relief is found in 73358 of the Revised Code, and in case an officer or board of a municipal corporation fails to perform any duty expressly enjoined by law or ordinance, the village solicitor or city law director shall apply to a court of competent jurisdiction for a writ of mandamus to compel the performance of the duty. A taxpayer lawsuit is a little different, and that's governed by 733-581, which provides any individual taxpayer may request the law director to file a lawsuit seeking judicial relief in the event a city is not acting in accordance with the law. If declined, the taxpayer may initiate the lawsuit in the name of the taxpayers, and if ultimately successful, may recover attorney's fees from the city. And we have had taxpayer lawsuits in recent years. One in particular was Chapman versus Pearson, and I gave you the citation and the printed materials for that. In that case, the director of code enforcement at that time failed to act at the request of a taxpayer to close down an establishment that was known as the Elbow Room, and that was an establishment that was on West Union Street. The taxpayer asked the law director to file a taxpayer lawsuit, and when that didn't happen, the taxpayer filed suit. The 4th District Court of Appeals found the ultimate action requested by the taxpayer was the closing of the bar, and that was achieved. And the court further found that there was a public benefit from the litigation, and the city was required to pay attorney fees. And in more recent years, we have had a taxpayer lawsuit that was ultimately dismissed, but that was the safest neighborhood case. So these have been actions that have been filed against the city. So the first thing that happens is that the private citizen requests of the law director, a request of the public official to take an action, and if that doesn't happen, the request of the law director to file the taxpayer's suit. And if that doesn't happen, then the taxpayer himself or herself can file the suit, and the city could be subject to attorney fees. Also, contract negotiations. Our office handles contract, or I do, and I'm appointed by the mayor to do that. I'm not going to get into legislative and executive authority. I believe that was probably adequately covered at your training. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about our office, and now I want to get into the open meetings and executive session law that's found in the Ohio Sunshine Law and set forth in the Ohio Revised Code and any training that you may have. The business of a city, there are a few exceptions, must be conducted in public, and discussion of council business among a quorum of members should be reserved only for public meetings. That's found in RC 121-22B1 and 2, where they define public body and meeting as follows. A public body means any board, commission, committee, or similar decision-making body of a state agency, institution, authority, or board, commission, committee, agency, authority, or similar decision-making body of any county, township, municipal corporation, school district, or other political subdivision or local institution. Any committee or subcommittee of such body is described above. And a meeting means a prearranged discussion of the public business of the public body by a majority of the members. Now, you're probably wondering why I've talked to you about this so much, and it is important because the public has an interest in the public business being discussed in public. There are several cases, and I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about those. There's a case called Signal Publishing versus Northwest Board of Education. And just by way of explanation, the Ohio Revised Code sets out the law on the Sunshine Law. But as in any area of the law, it may not be exactly clear. And so case law interprets what the statute says, and that's how we come to have case law. The case law maybe clarifies something in the law that may not be as clear as we'd hoped it would be. In that case, the Stark County the Common Pleas Court of Stark County held that a memorandum circulated to a Board of Education recommending that nothing be done about an asbestos problem and concluding, let me know if you have a different opinion. So that's a memorandum that was sent around amongst members of the school board, and it simply stated it had something to do with an asbestos problem and concluded, let me know if you have a different opinion. The Common Pleas Court found that that was a meeting and was in violation of the statute. In White versus King, a claim for a violation of the Sunshine Law must set forth the existence of the following elements. So this is what you should always keep in mind. Is the meeting prearranged? Is it a discussion of the public business of the public body in question by a majority of the members? So those are the things that you should keep in mind. It wouldn't apply to a social or ceremonial gathering or cover a conference or a similar event that a majority of the members happen to attend, so long as they didn't use the event as an excuse to deliberate or discuss the public business without an open meeting. So, going on as far as the open meetings, we know that open meetings also apply to committees, and they're specifically included in 121.22b2, and that's some discussion that we've had before. And in fact, your own rules of council, Rule 12 states under committee meetings, all meetings shall meet the requirements of the Sunshine Law and be open to the public. The Sunshine Law doesn't apply to grand juries, an audit conference conducted by the state auditor or independent certified public accountant, pre-engagement or post-audit, which we've had, organized crime investigation commission, certain hearings of adult parole authority, state medical board, nursing board, an executive committee of the emergency response commission. So that's what the Sunshine Law does not apply to. Now, there's an exception about conducting public business in public when there's an executive session, and that's a conference for the new people. This is a conference between members of a public body from which the public is excluded. So it's very rare, a rare occasion that something like that would happen. The public body may invite anyone in it chooses to attend an executive session. The public body may take no formal action in an executive session. Any formal action in an executive session is invalid. Only matters specifically identified in 121.22G1 through 8 may be discussed, and executive session may be held only at regular and special meetings. When they talk about no formal action, this even means you can't take a straw poll vote in executive session. So a straw poll vote would be constituting executive action. So these are the things you can discuss in executive session. Certain personnel matters, considering appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regular individual, unless the employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing. But a public body may not hold an executive session to consider the discipline of an elected official for conduct related to the performance of the official's duties, or to consider that person's removal from office. You can hold an executive session for the purchase of property of any sort, real, personal, tangible, or intangible, to discuss pending or imminent court action with the public body's attorney. Court action is pending if the lawsuit has been commenced or is imminent. However, note again that if you're going to be discussing imminent court action or pending court action, the attorney has to be in the executive session. It can't just be the members of the body deciding to go into an executive session. Also, to prepare for, conduct, or review a collective bargaining strategy, to discuss matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, federal rules, or statutes, discuss matters of security arrangements and emergency response protocols, trade secrets, and this is new, and this was just in the last few years, confidential information of an applicant for economic development assistance. So under 122.22H, a resolution, rule, or formal action of any kind is invalid unless adopted in an open meeting of the public body. And this is one thing that you wouldn't be faced with, but in my training that I took online last week, this was rather interesting in that this wouldn't happen in it would be more likely to happen maybe with county commissioners. But in a situation where, let's say, formal action was taken to discipline an employee and the proper language wasn't used that they were going into executive session for a specific purpose, any action taken, for instance, if it was a dismissal, any action taken in that executive session would then be invalidated. So let's say the employee was fired, and it was determined subsequently that the executive session was an illegal executive session, then essentially, according to the training I had last week, the employee would be unfired and the body would be responsible for back pay. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Other intertwined issues may be discussed, but only if they have a direct bearing on the permitted matter. And if the public body is challenged in court, for discussions or deliberations held in executive session, the burden of proof lies with the public body to establish one of the statutory exceptions permitting the executive session. And Ohio law prohibits the disclosure of items discussed in executive session. So the proper procedures, we've talked about those in the past, and it was actually suggested in this training that we be a little bit more specific when we're entering executive session, although it's not required by law. As you may or may not know, an executive session can only be held at a regular or special meeting and must always begin and end in an open session. And in order to begin the executive session, there must be both a proper motion and a roll call vote. The motion must specifically identify which one or more of the approved matters listed are to be considered at the executive session. The motion must be specific. It's not sufficient to say personnel. It must state to discuss the dismissal of a public employee. And citing to a specific section of the Ohio Revised Code as to what you're specifically dealing with is preferable, although it's not required. So, for example, you'd say, I move that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation as allowed in RC 121.22G3. Members of the public body may adjourn into executive session only after a majority of a quorum of the public body approves the motion by roll call vote, and the vote may not be by acclamation or show of hands, and it must be recorded in the minutes. There are a few cases on point, and there was one, Maddox versus Greene County Children's Services Board, and the court clarified the reasons a public entity may enter into executive session, the proper procedure for entering and exiting executive session, and determining fines for acts that violate the Open Meetings Act. The public body, according to this, must use the exact language in the statute or specifically denote the type of personnel matters such as hiring, discipline, or termination. In that case, they didn't state that you had to use the exact section of the revised code. Evaluating an employee cannot be the sole reason for going into executive session. The court dictated that if the public is removed from the room during the executive session, the public entity must be given those people a reasonable opportunity to re-enter after the executive session ended and before the public meeting is adjourned. So I think most of you understand that what you have to do, the requirement there to go back, open up the door. If any members of the public are out there, you invite them right back in. And that may seem rather strange to the new people, but it's a requirement of the law. So again, it has to open and end begin and end in a public session. Fines are grouped together by violation, and 12122I2A authorizes reducing attorney fees if the court finds that a well-informed public body reasonably would have believed that was not violating the Sunshine Law and that its conduct served public policy. So you're probably wondering, why in the world does she keep talking about this? But again, it's because the public and the people that are watching have a right to have the business of the public, their business, conducted in a public meeting. And there is liability for failing to follow the Ohio Sunshine Law. If any person believes that public bodies violated or intends to violate the Open Meetings Act, that person may file a suit in common pleas court to enforce the law's provisions. And that has happened in the past in Athens County, where an individual believed that a violation had occurred, and a civil lawsuit was filed in common pleas court of a public body who allegedly violated the Sunshine Law. The court heard evidence, and in that case, the court did find that there was a violation of the Sunshine Law. And the significance of that is that if one violation is found, then a second violation could result in removal from office. So I take this very seriously, and I want you all to take it just as seriously as I take it, and I know you do. An action for a violation must be brought in within 2 years. That's called the statute of limitations. If granted by the court, an injunction compels the members of the public body to comply with the law, either by refraining from the prohibited behavior or by conducting their meeting in accordance with the law where they previously failed to do so. Once the injunction is issued, as I explained, members of the public body who later commit a knowing violation of the injunction may be removed from office, but that action has to be brought by the county prosecutor or the attorney general's office. And once the violation is proven, the court must grant the injunction regardless of the public body's intervening or subsequent attempts to cure the violation. Where a public body is found to have violated the law on repeated occasions, courts have awarded $500 in civil forfeiture for each violation. Now, there could even be criminal liability. And a criminal charge of dereliction of duty could be filed against public officers under RC 2921-44E. Violations of this section is a misdemeanor of the second degree, and conviction is punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a $750 fine. I know that sounds shocking, but at this point, there don't appear to be any cases of criminal liability involving dereliction of duty. Most of it is the civil liability that could result in removal from office. So part of my Sunshine Law training, in addition to Open Meetings Act, was also in regards to public records. And you aren't faced with that too often. I think that the clerk, Debbie Walker, handles most of the public records requests for council, but it's good for me just to go over it with you and review it. Because there are some circumstances that you may not realize that you're creating a public record. So emails, texts, chat room transcripts, those kinds of things created in your capacity can be public records, even if they're on your own personal device or in your personal account. Doesn't matter where you keep a record, where you receive it, or how you send it. If it's in your personal device, it can be a public record. And in the training I took last week, they recommended that, I know all of you have a city email, but not all public bodies have their own email system like we have. And in this training, it recommended that if you don't have access to the city, or in this case it was township email, recommended getting a separate email account for the business, the public business. There was a case, Glasgow versus Jones, and that was a Supreme Court case. And in that case, a suit was brought to compel a state representative to provide copies of email messages, text messages, and correspondence she sent or received over a period of time in her official capacity as representative of the Ohio Attorney General, including from her personal device. Supreme Court found that email messages and correspondence are documents, devices, or items under the first prong of the test of records. More specifically, email messages constitute electronic records under 130601G because they're records created, generated, sent, communicated, received, or stored by electronic means. And there's another section, 149.011G, includes an electronic record as defined in section 130601 of the revised code as a document, device, or item within the definition of record. So since these can be public records, then obviously you need a records retention schedule for disposing of those. And in the Toledo Blade case that I cited to you, it's another Supreme Court case, a board of county commissioners at their own expense were required to recover emails which the court concluded had been improperly deleted, including those from their personal computer. So things on your personal device, sent or received, could be a public record if it documents in some way the public business. There's some miscellaneous cases, and in one that I've cited to you, Manog versus Stickle, township trustees, by actions of whispering and passing documents among themselves, intentionally prevented the audience from hearing or knowing what business was being conducted at their meeting, and they were found to have violated the Sunshine Law. A more modern way of whispering and passing notes would be texting, and obviously that would be prohibited also. So, Hulesky case I cited. In that case, the court stated it wasn't intended to prevent a majority of a board from being in the same room and answering questions or making statements, or other persons who are not public officials, even if the statements were related to public business. It's intended, again, to prohibit the majority of a board from meeting and discussing public business with one another. And there was another case that I cited to you, Haverkos versus the Northwest School Board. Emails to two other members wasn't prearranged meeting for purposes of the Sunshine Law because the emails were unsolicited. So I know that we've been through some of this before. I added the section on public records. And again, I'm reiterating it's very important. And I would suggest to you that I believe that you are going to get a copy of the Ohio Municipal League's manual. And I believe that's going to be an electronic copy. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
It is already on.
All right. So you all have a copy of that. And it has very comprehensive sections on the Sunshine Law, open meetings, and on the records. I would suggest that you use that as a guide. You can go to the Attorney General's website. You can get information on the Sunshine Law from the Attorney General's manual. And of course, you're always welcome to call me if you have a question. And I've given you my phone number, my email, and of course, our office is located in the administrative annex on the second floor, and you're always welcome. Thank you very much. I don't think we'll take questions. Okay. If you have questions otherwise,
sounds good.
You can email me, and I'll answer those.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And that's been very informative. We've also received an electronic and a written copy, a hard copy of your presentation.
And my presentation is also available on YouTube. So right. I will use that in the future for training purposes if we would have someone else come on. And if anyone listening tonight's interested in that, they could call and we could give them, I believe that the clerk of council has that information as to the link for the YouTube version of tonight's presentation. It's about 30 minutes long. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll take a short break at 6:36 p.m. At 6:45, we'll be reconvening to have the swearing in of all council members this evening. So stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly. And now we will have the appointment of clerk of council, and I believe Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Ansley. I would like to make a motion to appoint Debbie Walker as our clerk of council.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for appointment of our clerk of council, Deborah Walker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Congratulations, and we're glad you're here. She always does a wonderful job. Our next motions will be for selection of President Pro Tem, and that would be Council Member Butler, who will be selected for that. Do we have a motion for the selection of Mr. Councilmember Butler?
Nomination Butler as President.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for selection of President Pro Tem, and that will be Councilmember Butler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Our next motion will be for selection of acting Pro Tem, and this would be Councilmember Chris Ball. And I would welcome a motion and second for this.
I would like to make a motion that Councilmember Paul become our acting pro tem.
We have a motion.
Second.
A second. Thank you very much. For selection of Councilmember Fall as acting pro tem. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Good evening. We're coming back to our Athens City Council meeting on January 4th. It's 6:45 p.m. And tonight what we'll have is a series of swearing-ins from our Law Director, Lisa Eliason, for our newly elected council members. And I get
All right.
go first.
Well, it's my pleasure to administer the oath of office to Christine Nicely. And if you'll raise your hand, please, and you put your hand on the Bible. I, Christine Nicely,
I, Christine Nicely,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of Council President of the City of Athens, to which I've been elected for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I have something for you to sign, and I will sign it also. You'll go ahead and sign first. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
very much.
Jennifer Cochran. You can bring your family up. Oh, come on up. Come on up.
They're apparently camera shy.
All right. Well, if you'll raise your right hand, please. I, Jennifer Cochran.
I, Jennifer Cochran.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
And that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
And that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Of member of Council at Large.
Of member of Council at Large.
Of the City of Athens.
Of the City of Athens.
To the term for which I've been elected.
To the term for which I've been elected.
Beginning January 1st, 2016.
Beginning January 1st, 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Go ahead and sign that. Okay. So let me give you your certificate. Your oath of office.
Thank you.
Mr. Katsas. No? Okay. All right, if you'll raise your right hand. I, Peter Katsas. Oh, here she comes.
Oh,
Not too late. Come on up. Okay, right there. Can you see her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right. I, Peter Katsas.
I, Peter Katsas,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties of member of council at large,
discharge the
the duties,
duties
of member of council at
member
large
of council at large
of the City of Athens,
of the City of Athens,
to which I've been elected
to which I've been elected
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so go ahead and sign.
She's out of here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pat. Okay, if you'll raise your right hand, please.
Oh, yes.
I, Patrick McGee,
I, Patrick McGee,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of member of council at large
of member of council at large
of the City of Athens,
of the City of Athens,
to which I've been elected
to which I've been elected
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and Mr. Butler.
All right, go easy on me here.
Lori? No? Okay. All right, if you'll raise your right hand. I, Kent Butler,
I, Kent Butler,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Council Member Ward 1
of Councilmember Ward 1
of the City of Athens,
of the City of Athens,
to which I've been elected
to which I have been
for
elected
the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
to the term of January 1st, 2016. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Reisner? If you'll raise your right hand, please. I, Jeffrey Reisner,
I, Jeffrey Reisner,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Council Member Ward 2
of Council Member Ward 2
of the City of Athens,
of the City of Athens,
to which I've been elected
to which I have been elected
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Go ahead and sign. Ms. Pappy? If you'll raise your right hand. I, Michelle Pappy,
I, Michelle Pappy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Council Member Ward 3
of Council Member Ward 3
of the City of Athens,
of the City of Athens,
to which I've been elected
to which I've been
for
elected,
the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
to the term which I've been elected, January 1st, 2016.
Yes, congratulations. Thank you. Ms. Fall. Raise your right hand, please. I, Christine Fall,
I, Christine Fall,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Council Member Ward 4
of Council Member Ward 4,
of the City of
the
Athens,
City of Athens,
to which I've been elected
to which I've been elected
for the term beginning January 1st, 2016.
to the term starting January 1st, 2016.
Congratulations. No, you were fantastic. It's 6:55, and I believe we still have about 5 minutes until the council session begins.
We will be reconvening at 7 o'clock for our regular session council. Thank you.
It doesn't have a...
Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. It's Monday, January 4th, 2016. It is 7 p.m. We had a session prior to this of the Sunshine Law presentation by Law Director Eliason. I'd like to thank her for that. And also then our swearing-in ceremony for new members of City Council. And so I'd like to welcome returning ones and welcome new members. We're very much looking forward to a productive year. During our council meeting tonight, we'll be going through several items of business that happen at the beginning of the year, such as appointing a clerk of council and President Pro Tem and acting Pro Tem, so that we have items in order for operations for the rest of the year. Our first item of business will be to establish a quorum. All members of council are present. Our next motion will be for designation of Lisa Eliason, our law director, as parliamentarian. A motion and a second, and you're welcome.
I move to designate Lisa Eliason as parliamentarian of this body.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the designation of parliamentarian. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, and thank you, Law Director Eliason, for your service on this. Next items are disposition of minutes, and we have regular sessions that were held on November 16th, December 7th, December 14th, and December 16th. And if we could have a motion, please, for approval of these minutes.
I move for disposition of minutes from November 16th, December 7th, December 14th, and December 16th, 2015.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second for approval of disposition of minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. We next have an item for communications, and have there been any communications that council members have received that they wish to relay? Yes, Councilmember Cochran.
I would like to acknowledge receipt of a letter from a community member indicating their opinion about having the statue at the water treatment plant on public display again.
And council members and myself have also received communication from several citizens about the Airbnb and also some comments on that from other persons in the community. So we welcome those responses and looking forward to further discussion later in the year. Any other communications? Okay, reports and communications from other elected officials. Mayor Steve Patterson.
Welcome on board.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to start by saying there's so many of you up there. Such a different vantage point sitting over here as opposed to where I'm used to sitting. I have several items tonight that I'd like to bring forward, at least to make the public aware. Christmas tree pickup will continue through the month of January. It'll be on Tuesdays and Fridays, and people are encouraged to bring their tree out to live trees out to the curb, and then they need to contact Engineering and Public Works by phoning 592-3343, and the trees will be picked up.
I have one question. Those that live on Court Street that may have a tree, does it go out to the curb? Or should they call for a special pickup?
No one's ever asked that before, so I can look into it.
A few other items. The email server for the city was down. There was a problem with OU and our IT. It has been resolved. I just bring that up in case anybody did send emails and felt like they were slighted and not being answered. We've got a lot of that. That's all been rectified. The Armory, update on the Armory briefly is that it has been retucked and water sealed. They'll be going around tomorrow, and just kind of with their punch list and making sure that cleanup is maintained, or cleanup has been conducted around the building site. The community center, Athens Community Center's new generator is in its final phases of being installed. It will require AEP coming down. We're looking at January 15th as the date in which likely the community center will be without power for a day. Hopefully that's all it is, so it's going to result in closure of the facility for that work for the new generator. There's a larger generator. It's a generator that would be great that, since the community center, for those of you who aren't familiar, can be used in natural disaster scenarios, and with this new generator, it'll afford for a much more powerful generator to be operating all the utilities, to include HVAC, heating and cooling. So just keep that in mind. MOU presentation at City Council will be next Monday night. That'll be coming through Council. And Martin Luther King Day is coming up, January 18th. City offices will be closed, and I encourage everyone to get out in a day of remembrance for that particular holiday. It'll also have a one-day delay. There will be a one-day delay in trash and recycling pickup for the week of the 18th. So just to bring everyone abreast of that as well. And I think this will come up later again. I encourage individuals, the clock is winding down on the Community Energy Savers program competition. I encourage people to log on to the Community Energy Savers website and have an audit done and replace any of your defunct or old or whatever appliances with Energy Saver appliances, which will help for this prize, which will go to the Athens County Public Library System. So just wanted to plug that in there as well. That's all I have.
Yes, thank you. Do you distribute those for everyone?
Thank you. I'm Lisa Eliason, Law Director for the City of Athens. And one of my duties that's set forth in the Ohio Revised Code is to, on a yearly basis, give you a report of the Law Director's Office. And that is to be at the first council meeting in January. This being the first council meeting in January, I'm prepared to present that report of our office. This is a report of business from January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015. By way of introduction, I'd like to state that the Law Director is the Chief Legal Officer of the city. The responsibilities are outlined in the Ohio Revised Code. And Athens City Council has classified the position of Law Director as part-time, requiring a minimum of 30 hours a week to be devoted to the position. The Law Director is responsible for overseeing the Department of Law and 3 full-time prosecutors. Were there some members of the press, perhaps, that wanted a copy?
Well,
I believe that council members got their copy electronically. So I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that. Thank you for doing that, but they received theirs electronically. Okay, so again, our office is responsible. My job is to oversee the law department and the 3 full-time prosecutors. The prosecutors are Chief City Prosecutor Tracy Meek, Prosecutor James Stanley, and Prosecutor Matt Ward, and they're responsible for the prosecutions in Athens County Municipal Court. So our office prosecutes misdemeanors that occur in the municipal court, that occur in the city of Athens, but also by contract, we prosecute misdemeanor offenses that occur in the unincorporated areas of Athens County. Last year in Athens County Municipal Court, there were about 12,000 cases filed, and about 3/4 of those cases, the individuals waived court appearance, they pleaded arraignment, or they're prosecuted by another jurisdiction. So that leaves about 3,000 cases for our office to prosecute. And our office prosecutes the cases from after the arraignment all the way through a jury trial, and then collects restitution and sometimes handles some probation matters. The law director also provides legal advice to city officials, represents the city in legal proceedings, and approves contracts and bonds involving the city. And of course, the law director keeps council apprised of the progress regarding litigation to which the city is a party. The law director serves by appointment of the mayor on contract negotiation team and negotiates labor contracts with the city's organized collective bargaining units. In 2015, the budget for the Office of the Law Director and the City Prosecutor was $658,580. Of that, the city received $49,303 from Athens County for the prosecution of misdemeanor offenses in the unincorporated areas of the county. To give you an idea of those 3,000 cases, approximately, we handled 1,110 cases were traffic, criminal, and code violations, and those are people that did not have an attorney. So they pled not guilty in arraignment, they didn't get an attorney. In our office, our prosecutors, one of the 3, prosecuted those cases. Then we had 1,470 cases with attorney representation, and I've listed those. Those go anywhere from speed, possession of marijuana, OVI, all the way down to domestic violence, assault, aggravated menacing, vehicular manslaughter. We also had some carryover cases from 2014, about 200. So here we've got estimate. I have here 2,771 cases that we prosecuted, but it's more, could be around 3,000 cases. So it's about 1/4 of the cases from the municipal court. Some of the additional services that we provide, our office wrote about 1,000 victim letters. We're required by law to notify a victim in a criminal case, and we sometimes have to send multiple letters because of pretrial. There might be 2 or 3 pretrials, and so we did about 1,000 victim letters. Wrote 30 bad check letters, approved 122 driving privileges, 600 applications were reviewed for sealing of records. We wrote about 50 letters regarding criminal matters. Our prosecutors, the 3 of them, appeared in court 2,340 times. We had 4 jury trials, 125 motion hearings, handled 4 appellate cases. Those were appeals from decisions of the Athens County Municipal Court. We wrote 286 letters on behalf of code enforcement, and we have open 171 cases where there's court-ordered restitution, and we collect that on a monthly basis for victims. We handled 2 small claims actions to collect small debts owed to the city. And, of course, the prosecutors provide legal advice to law enforcement, and that could include Athens City Police, Ohio University Police, the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Athens County Sheriff, Dog Warden, any agency of the state, and we provide legal advice to those also. Some of my general duties, of course, I administer the office and supervise the prosecutors. This year I participated as co-counsel in 2 of the criminal jury trials, and we had 4 this year. I met with the prosecutors to discuss resolution of cases, wrote 3 formal legal opinions, provided legal advice to the various elected offices, department heads and boards. Of course, I attend council meetings and special sessions, attend executive sessions, provide training, as I did tonight, on legal subjects, review ordinances prior to council meetings, reviewed resolutions prior to council meetings. I negotiated 3 of the union contracts, administered oaths of offices last year, reviewed contracts, drafted one contract in particular that was quite comprehensive, presented evidence at a liquor control hearing, attended meetings and conferences with elected officials and department heads, wrote letters to collect money owed to the city, compiled public records requests, appeared on one occasion in federal district court in Columbus, attended numerous pretrial conferences in common pleas court, and met with outside counsel on civil matters involving the city. And probably of the most interest to city council would be the civil cases that we have. At the beginning of 2015, we had 4 civil cases that were pending then. 2 new cases were filed. 2 cases were completed in 2015, and at the present time, we have 4 cases pending at the end of 2015. So I would be glad to take any questions that you may have, but this is my requirement under the Ohio Revised Code to present kind of a state of the office to you, and I've done that. Any questions? Mr. McGee?
Yes, I know it's not part of your stats here, but for the underage alcohol consumption, I noticed your office represented several hundred, but do you know how many underage cases were filed in Athens County?
I don't, because a lot of those go through, those are ones that we don't even have any involvement with, because they go through a diversion program. And I think in the past I've checked, and it's several hundred, like 700 or 800 go through a diversion program. So we have no involvement. Of the 12,000 cases that were in the municipal court, those would be cases that we don't touch because those cases are diverted immediately. And the cases that I have, I don't know, let's see, did we list those on there? I don't think that we did as far as, well, maybe we did, underage drinking cases. But we do have some. 153. Yeah, 153. And those would be people that probably more likely than not, well, they did. They had attorneys representing them. So.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
All right, hearing none, thank you very much.
And it's good to have the report so we understand the breadth of the operations of your office. And we know when you're here, but there are many other things, obviously, that you're doing for the city. So thank you very much. Okay. We will move on now to an ordinance for first reading. And this is Ordinance 116. An ordinance declaring a real and present emergency, thus obviating the formal bidding procedure for stormwater repair on North Court Street. And I believe Councilmember Butler will be speaking to this.
Thank you, President Isley. Before we begin, I just need to acknowledge that this is an emergency issue, and I'd like to make a motion for us to suspend the rules because of this emergency.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for consideration of suspension of the rules for Ordinance 116. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. And then I'll follow that up with a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of Ordinance 116, and we'll now open it up for explanation and discussion.
Thank you, President. Essentially, I met earlier today with our City Service Safety Director, who acknowledged that the city engineer and the water supervisor conducted a tunnel investigation on North Court Street, and it was determined that the area has a potential for collapse and that there's an obstruction. This storm tunnel does service approximately 200 or so plus homes above it, and is requiring necessity here. It's approximately $90,000 from the Stormwater Fund 755 transaction class 500 for these repairs. Thank you.
Okay. And yes, Councilmember Pappy.
I have a question. So in terms of the obstruction, do we know what the obstruction is? Is it actually infrastructure obstruction or something else obstruction?
You know, this is, some of you may be aware, some may not. Some years ago, if you remember, the storm drain tunnel underneath Court Street, North Court Street, was repaired. It caused a lot of delay. It's the same storm drain tunnel. It's sandstone. It's old. It's probably one of the oldest in the city. City engineer Andy Stone actually went into the tunnel and looked in to see what was going on, wanting to make sure, again, whether there was some organic blockage down there, whether there's a shopping cart in there, whatever, what was causing this. And what he identified is that the sandstone infrastructure underneath there, the old tunnel, is beginning to fail, and it probably led to some of the backup. But again, we're talking 150-year-old storm drain tunnel that's underneath there. So he physically got in and looked at what was going on. It's needed repair. Obviously, as Member Butler stated, and I want to reiterate that, is that upstream from this, we're talking about some 200-plus homes where if this were to completely fail, it could create significant damage on up throughout the neighborhoods up above. So it's important that we get in and with corrective action and repair this. Again, yet to be determined to get in. With this particular ordinance, it'll pave the way for having this take place. But as you're in there, as you can imagine, there could be other significant things that were identified as well.
And to be clear, when we did the Fern Alley and the storm line improvements, this is outside of that. This is a different section. We have old crumbling infrastructure.
Thank you for explaining that.
Is this upstream of the Fern Alley or downstream of the Fern Alley?
Across the street.
Upstream?
Upstream, thank you.
We don't have an easement for that, do we?
We claim that there are no easements for 150-year-old infrastructure that have been in place for a period of time. We just feel, now that we've been made aware and it's been brought to our attention, we need to go in there and repair.
Okay. Any additional questions or discussion? And so I'm assuming that the work will start.
They're ready to stage this
immediately.
week. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So citizens should beware as they come up to the north end of Court Street then. Okay. So we've suspended the rules. We have a motion and a second now for approval of Ordinance 116. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. We now have announcements and other business. Our first item being a motion to accept the auditor's November 2015 financial statements, financial reports.
I so move that we accept the auditor's report for 2015 November.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure, certainly.
I'm racking my brain. I can't recall ever reading these. Has anyone read the financial reports from the auditor for November?
I believe I did, because I always, when I get them in the mail, I download them to my hard drive.
Yeah.
And so I did think that they came in.
Okay.
And I did take a look at them.
We looked at
email issues.
The ones at the orientation meeting also. Wasn't that part of it? That was unappropriated balances.
That was unappropriated, yeah.
Yeah, some of those were balanced. So I'm
Just want to clear
relatively
that.
sure.
November was kind of hectic for me.
I'm relatively sure from downloading them. But thanks for asking the question, just to make sure. Okay. We have a motion and a second for approval of the November financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the motion is approved, or carries. We'll now have a motion to approve the 2016-17 Poet Laureate, and I believe Councilmember Butler, as a representative member on the Athens Municipal Arts Commission, will be leading us in that discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, President Nisley. I would like to make a motion to approve Allison Stein as the 2016-17 Poet Laureate, and we do have a speaker here briefly. Carol Patterson, who chairs the Municipal Arts Commission, is here this evening as well, too, to offer some more information about this nominee. And again, if I'm correct in remembering, we would be the first city in the state of Ohio to have a Poet Laureate. Am I correct?
I believe that's correct. And the state has just installed their first Poet Laureate just like 3 days ago, so we're right in there. It's pretty exciting. I'm Carol Patterson. I chair the Athens Municipal Arts Commission, and I thank you for the opportunity to explain this a little bit and to say hi, y'all. Congratulations to our new council members, and hi to all of you. And congratulations and welcome, Mayor Patterson. Like the sound of that. Almost a year ago, or more than a year ago, we began the discussion of a poet laureate for Athens. This was a concept that Bob Winters had brought forward to the Arts Commission. And then following his passing, we continued with the idea and began a more in-depth discussion. Since that time, we have had a committee out of AMAC, an adjunct committee appointed to discuss the criteria, then to review the candidates. And James Hill is here this evening. He's served on that committee. Bonnie Proudfoot was the chair, and Kate Fox also served. In November, actually October, I think, we met and discussed the applicants and came up with the choice to make a recommendation to the Arts Commission. The Arts Commission in December upheld that recommendation, so the next step is to bring it to council for ratification. Our choice is Allison Stein. Allison, ironically, did not know till last night about this. She had been gone for Christmas break, so all of my emails, my phone calls, my texts had gone missing. So quite excitedly, she contacted me last night, but did say that she would not be able to come this evening. We chatted back and forth several times about that, and she did express her disappointment at not being here to meet you personally, but we'll get her here sometime, and you'll have the opportunity to meet her. Allison is a nationally recognized poet. The council has copies of her resume and of her two-page project description for her term for the first year as poet laureate, and the name of that is Words Like Water. And her analogy there was that water is important to our essence, so is art, poetry, and so that was what she wanted to emphasize. Also the fact that water is our sustenance, and anything that threatens that water is an issue to her. She dwells on environmental issues as well as the more artistic things that express the beauty of our area. Allison's lived in Athens for 8 years. She has received a PhD from OU and has taught while she was a graduate student, earning that PhD. We are very excited about her as a prospect for our poet laureate. She certainly is a spark and an artistic amazement to me reading all of her materials. Her total application was 35 pages long, including pieces of work, reviews of books she's written, poems she's written, and just beautiful recommendations from the people who came forward to speak for her. I feel she is a wonderful advocate for Athens. The environmental factors are exciting. One of the things that I find the most exciting about her application was the fact that she's multi-artistic. That's the only way I can say it. She has training in visual arts. She is a musician. She has directed a high school drama program. How good can she be? So all of those things put together, the things that she began to talk about were how can we use all the arts to pull them in together to emphasize performance arts, which of course poetry would fit in that category, but she has great ideas of incorporating all of that in Athens artistic program. So I'm excited to bring this recommendation to you and congratulate Athens on this benchmark of installing a poet laureate for our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
Questions? Yes, Ms. Leanne Mosley, our Service Safety Director.
Thank you. The one item of note at reading her proposal and the fall/winter 2016 words like water public mural, I would request on behalf of the city that the location be within the city.
Oh, right. And I knew that had been questioned. She was just naming places that she had seen. I happen to know that one of those locations is already designated for a grant from public schools, and they're in the process of doing the artwork and preparing for that. But the mural question is certainly something we keep revisiting and having more sites, so I don't see that as an issue. It's just we have to match our artists up with our locations, and it'll all be good.
Be happy to assist in any way I could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for coming here tonight, former council member Patterson. And thanks for your continued service on the Municipal Arts Commission.
I kept wanting to vote.
And thanks, Mr. Hill, also for serving on the committee and being here tonight, too. So we have a motion, but we need a second.
Second.
Okay. And yes, another comment from Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isaac. I just was offering a friendly reminder for those in TV land or new to council that the Municipal Arts Commission advises all of us on council as well as the mayor's office on anything art-related within our community. Mm-hmm. Hence, we are able to see that in process this evening.
Great.
I full-heartedly support this. Thank you.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second now, so let's take the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. And congratulations to Ms. Stein then also for her work coming up this year. We now have another motion, and this would be for amending our rules of council, and I believe Councilmember Pappy will be presenting on this.
Thank you, President. We operate with rules of council for the City of Athens, and rule number 1 has to do with regular meetings. And we've had at our training in December, this was discussed at our open meeting, and the motion that I would like to present is that regular meetings shall be held except for the month of July. Currently, it reads the month of August, and we would like to change that to the month of July to help with vacations and other issues. Much of the business of Athens is gearing up in early August, and council was generally gone at that point. So I move that the rules for rule number 1 under rules of council be changed, that we are out of session the month of July.
Okay, we have a motion. A second, please.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to change our rules of council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries. Okay. And I would like to check with council members. I believe we had some of this discussion maybe a little bit earlier, but for committee meetings that will be meeting next Monday night. Planning and Development,
Transportation,
Finance personnel.
Finance and Personnel, and Service Safety.
Correct.
All right.
And a committee of the whole.
And a committee of the whole as well, also for our presentation for the Memorandum of Understanding Annual Report. Okay. All right. And as our last item of business before adjourning, we do have an opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services that have not been covered on the agenda. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak tonight? Okay. Seeing that we've exhausted all our conversations and discussions, I'll have a motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for adjourning our city council meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. We are adjourned at 7:36 p.m. Thank you very much.